Hello students, welcome to the world of Audiobook of Intellectuals Hub. Students, today we are going to study neural control and coordination. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe the channel. Let's get started. As you know, the functions of the organ system in our body must be coordinated to maintain homeostasis. Coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the function of one another. For example, when we do physical exercises, the energy demand is increasing for maintaining and increased muscular activity. The supply of oxygen is also increased. The increased supply of oxygen necessitates an increase in the rate of respiration, heartbeat, and increased blood flow through blood vessels. When physical exercises stop, the activities of nerves, lungs, heart and kidney gradually return to their normal condition. Thus, the functions of muscles, lung, heart, blood vessels, kidney and other organs are coordinated while performing physical exercises. In our body, the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and integrate all the activities of the organ so that they function in a synchronized fashion. The neural system provides an organized network of point-to-point connection for a quick coordination. The endocrine system provides chemical integration through hormones. In this chapter, you will learn about the neural system of human, mechanism of neural coordination like transmission of nerve impulse conduction across a synapse. Now the neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells called neurons, which can detect, receive and transmit different kinds of stimuli. The neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. For example, in Hydra, it is composed of a network of neurons. Neural system is better organized in insects where a brain is present along with a number of ganglia and neural tissues. The vertebrates have a more developed neural system. Human neural system. The human neural system is divided into two parts, that is CNS, central neural system, and PNS, peripheral neural system. The CNS system includes the brain and the spinal cord, and it is the site of information processing and control. The PNS comprises of all the nerves of the body associated with the CNS, that is with brain and spinal cord. The nerve fiber of the PNS are of two types, afferent fiber and afferent fibers. The afferent nerve fiber transmit impulses from tissues or organs to the CNS, and the efferent fibers transmit regulatory impulse from the CNS to the concerned peripheral tissues or organs. The PNS is divided into two divisions called somatic neural system and automatic neural system. The somatic neural system relies impulses from the CNS to skeletal muscle, while the autonomic neural system transmit impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organ and the smooth muscle of the body. The autonomic neural system is further classified into sympathetic neural system and parasympathetic neural system. Visceral neural system. Visceral neural system is the part of the peripheral nervous system that comprises the whole complex of nerves, fiber, ganglia and plexuses by which impulses travel from the central nervous system to the viscera and from the viscera to the central nervous system. Now the neuron is structure and functional unit of the neural system. A neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three major parts, namely body cell, cell body, dendrites and axons. That is shown in your figure 18.1. The cell body contains cytoplasm with typical cell organelle and certain granule bodies called nasal granules. Short fibers which branch repeatedly and project out of the cell body, also contain nasal granules and are called dendrites. These fibers transmit impulses towards the cell body. The axon is a long fiber, the distal end of which is branched. Each branch terminates as a bulb-like structure called synaptic knob, which possess synaptic vessel containing chemicals called neurotransmitters. The axon transmit nerve impulse away from the cell body to the synapse or to a neuromuscle junction. Based on the number of axon and dendrites, the neurons are divided into three types, that is multipolar, bipolar and unipolar. There are two types of axon, namely myelinated and non-myelinated. The myelinated nerve fiber are involved with Schwann cells which form a myelin shield around the axon. The gaps between two adjacent myelin shields are called nodes or Ranvier. Myelinated nerve fiber are found in spinal and cranial nerves. Myelinated nerve fiber is enclosed by a Schwann cell that does not form a myelin shield around the axon and is commonly found in autonomous and the somatic neural system. Now the generation and conduction of nerve impulse. Neurons are excitable cells because their membranes are in a polarized state. Do you know why the membrane of a neuron is polarized? Different types of ions channels are present on the neural membrane. These ions channels are selectively permeable to different ions. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, that is resting, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ion and nearly impermeable to sodium ion. Similarly, the membrane is impermeable to negatively charged protein present in the exoplasm. Consequently, the exoplasm inside the axon contain high concentration of potassium and negatively charged protein and low concentration of sodium ion. In contrast, the fluid outside the axon contain a low concentration of potassium ion, a high concentration of sodium ion, and thus form a concentration gradients. These ionic gradients across the resting membrane are maintained by the active transport of ion by the sodium-potassium pump, which transport 3 sodium ion outward for 2 potassium ion into the cell. As a result, the outer surface of the axonal membrane possesses a positive charge while the inner surface becomes negatively charged and therefore is polarized. The electric potential difference across the resting plasma membrane is called as the resting potential. You might be curious to know about the mechanism of generation of nerve impulse and its conduction along an axon. When a stimulus is applied at the site that is shown in your figure 18.2 on the polarized membrane, the membrane of the site A becomes freely permeable to sodium ion. This leads to an rapid influx of sodium ion followed by the reversal of polarity of that site. That is, the outer surface of the membrane becomes negatively charged and the inner side becomes positively charged. The polarity of the membrane at the site A is thus reversed and hence depolarized. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane at the site A is called the action potential, which is in fact termed as nerve impulse. At site immediately ahead, the axon Membrane has a positive charge on the outer surface and the negative charge on its inner surface. As a result, a current flows on the inner surface from site A to site B. On the outer surface, current flows from site B to site A, that is shown in your figure 18.2, to complete the circuit of current flow. Hence, the polarity at the site is reversed and then action potential is generated at site B. Thus, the impulse generated at site A arrives at site B. The sequence is repeated along the length of the axon and consequently the impulse is conducted. The rise in the stimulus induced permeability to sodium ion is extremely short-lived. It is quickly followed by a rise in permeability to potassium ion. Within a fraction of a second, potassium ion diffuses outside the membrane and restores the resting potential of the membrane at the site of excitation, and the fiber becomes once more responsive to further stimulation. Now students, transmission of impulses. A nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another through junction called synapse. Synapse is formed by the membrane of a presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. There are two types of synapses, namely electrical synapses and chemical synapses. At electrical synapses, the membrane of pre- and postsynaptic neuron are in very close proximity. Electrical current flows directly from one neuron to the another across these synapses. Transmission of an impulse across electrical synapse is very similar to impulse conduction along a single axon. Impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is further faster than that across a chemical synapse. Electrical synapses are rare in our system. At a chemical synapse, the membranes of the pre- and postsynaptic neuron are separated by a fluid-filled space called synaptic cleft, that is shown in your figure 18.3. Do you know how the presynaptic neuron transmits an impulse across the synaptic cleft at the postsynaptic neuron? Chemicals called neurotransmitters are involved in the transmission of impulse at these synapses. The axon terminal contain vesicles filled with these neurotransmitters. When an impulse arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of the synaptic vesicles towards the membrane where they fuse with the plasma membrane and release their neurotransmitters in a synaptic cleft. The released neurotransmitters bind to their specific receptor present on the postsynaptic membrane. This binding opens ion channeling, allow the entry of ions which can generate a new potential in the postsynaptic neuron. The new potential developed may be either excitatory or inhibitory. Now CNS, that is central neural system. The brain is the central information processing organ of our body and act as a command and control system. It controls the voluntary movement, balance of the body, functioning of vital involuntary organs, that is lung, heart, kidneys, etc. Thermoregulation, hunger and thirst, cardians, that is 24 hours rhythm of our body, activities of several endocrine glands and human behavior. It is also the site for processing of vision, hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions and thoughts. The human brain is well protected by the skull. Inside the skull, the brain is covered by cranial Meninges consisting of an outer layer called dura mater, a very thin middle layer called arachnoid, and an inner layer which is in contact with the brain tissue called pia mater. The brain can be divided into three major parts, that is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. That is shown in your figure 18.4. Now the forebrain. Forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. That is shown in your figure 18.4. Cerebrum forms the major part of the human brain. A deep cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into two halves, which are termed as the left and right cerebral hemispheres. The hemispheres are connected by a tract of nerve fiber called corpus callosum. The layer of cells which cover the cerebral hemisphere is called cerebral cortex and is thrown into prominent folds. The cerebral cortex is referred to as the grey matter due to its greyish appearance. The neural cell bodies are concentrated here, giving the color. The cerebral cortex contains motor area, sensory area and large regions that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. These regions, called as the association area, are responsible for complex functions like intersensory association, memory and communication. Fiber of the tracts are covered with the myelin shield which constitute the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. They give an opaque white appearance to the layer and hence is called the white matter. The cerebral wraps around a structure called thalamus, which is a major coordinating center for sensory and motor signaling. Another very important part of the brain called hypothalamus lies at the base of the thalamus. The hypothalamus contains a number of central centers which control body temperature, urge for eating and drinking. It also contains several groups of neurosecretory cells which secretes hormone called hypothalamic hormones. The inner part of cerebral hemisphere and a group of associated deep structure like amygdala, hippocampus, etc. form a complex structure called the limbic lobe or limbic system. Along with the hypothalamus, it is involved in the regulation of sexual behavior, expression of emotional reaction, that is excitement, pleasure, rage and fear and motivation. Now the midbrain, second part of the brain. Midbrain is located between the thalamus or hypothalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. A canal called the cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. The dorsal portion of the midbrain consists mainly of four round swelling lobes called corpora quadrigemina. Now the hindbrain. Hindbrain comprises pons, cerebrum and medulla, also called the medulla oblongata. Pons consist of fiber tract that interconnect different regions of the brain. Cerebellum has very convoluted surface in order to provide the additional space for many more neurons. The medulla of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. Medulla contains central centers which control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes and gastric secretion. Three major regions make up the brainstem: midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Brainstem form the connection between the brain and the spinal cord. So this is about this chapter. I hope you like the video. Next chapter is in your next video. Before going, please like, comment, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.